Okay, good afternoon again, grade 11. So today we're gonna do something a little different, something special. So we're gonna have all of our teachers, Mistress Toot and Mr. Joaquin. They're going to assist me this afternoon before we actually get started with the lesson. Now, I'm going to ask Mr. Joaquin to read something, and I need you to pay special attention. Please listen carefully. He can only read it once. Then I'm going to ask Ms. Toot to read something, and I need you to listen attentively to what Ms. Toot is saying as well. And then I'm going to ask you some questions, okay? So, Mr. Joaquin, are you ready?
All right.
Okay, you can go ahead.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
All right.
Sunset is the time of day when our sky meets the outer space solar winds. There are blue, pink, and purple swirls, spinning and twisting like clouds of balloons caught in a whirlwind. The sun moves slowly to hide behind the line of the horizon, while the moon races to take its place in prominence atop the night sky. People slow to a crawl, entranced, fully forgetting the deeds that must still be done. There is a coolness, a calmness when the sun does set.
All right, Mr. Joaquin, I clip for you. All right, Miss Toot, you can go ahead. Students, I hope you took into account what you heard. Now, Miss Toot will go.
Okay. It was July 21st, 1969, and Neil Armstrong awoke with a start. It was the day he would become the first human being to ever walk on the moon. The journey had begun several days earlier, when on July 16th, the Apollo 2nd launch from Earth headed into outer space. On board with Neil Armstrong were Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin. The crew landed on the moon in the Sea of Tranquility a day before the actual walk. Upon Neil's first step onto the moon's surface, he declared, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." It sure was.
All right, thank you, Miss Toot. Yes, 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 thank you. Now, so students, you listen to Mr. Joaquin. He had a short piece, as well as Miss Toot. She had a short piece she had to read. Now, listening to both of the pieces, right? You listen carefully. Can you guys tell me what difference did you notice between both of the pieces that they read? What was different between all two? Did you notice anything different? Anyone? Someone? Nobody was listening today then.
Ebony, yeah, Ebony says something.
Ebony says one was describing something.
Okay, and okay.
Lashanda says the first used a lot of figurative language.
Okay. Anyone else? What about Miss Tootson? What about Miss Toothpiece that she read? What did you notice?
Okay. She gave a lot of details, Corel says.
Okay, anything else? What else? Mrs. Toot own was different from Mr. Walk-in's own.
Jasmine says it was telling a story.
All right. Listen, I so love you guys. Yes. So yes, all of you are on the right track. So based on Mr. Joaquin's piece and Miss Toots' piece, what do you think this lesson is going to be about? If you're saying Mr. Joaquin's piece describes a lot of things and Miss Toots' piece was telling a story, who did this? Who's BM?
Baroniqua.
And LG. Hey, who that is? Please change your picture. Thank you.
Okay, so
Oh.
Baroniqua is saying types of writing. Lorica types of writing.
Right.
And Chantel says the same.
All right.
Yes.
That's all right.
I am so proud of you guys. Awesome job. Yes. You are so good. You are correct. We're doing types of writing today. And based on what Mr. Joaquin read, he actually read a descriptive piece. It was very much detailed, right? And then you have Miss Toots' piece. That was a story. She was basically, the story was about the first man who walked on the moon, Neil Armstrong. Okay, if you didn't learn something today about who walked on the moon, now you know. Or the first man who walked on the moon, now you know. Good. So today we're doing types of writing. Now, remember when we did paragraph writing, one of these slides that we used, actually we went through it. Mr. Joaquin went through it, Ms. Toot went through it, and I went through it. What are the different types of writing did we review that day? What are the different types of writing did we review that day? Or do you recall the different types of writing? While you think, I am going to go over the objectives. So our objective for today is to explain the purpose of each type of writing. 2, to point out the elements of various types of writing. And 3, differentiate between the 4 types of writing. Mr. Joaquin, Mr. Toot, I'm getting a lot of answers now.
Yes, I think we have them. Okay, so Corel says descriptive as well as LaRon and Miracle.
Yes.
Stephanie, the narrative.
Yes.
Corel also says the expository.
Good job.
And descriptive. So we have descriptive, narrative, expository. I think there's one more, eh?
Yes, it's one more.
And Larica says persuasive.
Good job. Yes, you guys are correct. Those are 4 types of writing that we're looking at today, or the 4 types of writing that we have already been exposed to. These are things that we've learned from junior school straight up to high school, but we may go in a little more detail today. But remember, this is still back to basic. We're just reviewing as well, okay? So good. So this is our 3 objectives. I will read it again. Explain the purpose of each type of writing. 2, point out the elements of various types of writing. And 3, differentiate between the 4 types of writing. So yes, you guys were able to identify the 4 types of writing: narration, description, exposition, and persuasion. Good job. Okay, good job, students. Now, when we talk about the types of writing, each type of writing has its own purpose. Anytime we're looking at a persuasive piece, a narrative piece, expository piece, or descriptive piece, each of them serves its own purpose, all right? Now, so let's look up the importance of these types of writing. Some overlap so we have some overlapping when it comes to writing, right? So some description in narration, yes, because sometimes when you're doing a narrative, in order to bring your writing to life, you have to describe something. You have to use descriptive words. You have to use adjectives. Okay, this is going to help your writing to be much lively. Okay, and then we have some exposition in persuasion writing. So the reason why, if you're writing persuasive speech, or persuasive essay, and you have some exposition, some of the elements from your expository, it's because you're trying to give them factual or hard data to persuade them to side with you when you're doing a persuasive piece, okay? But in most writing, one of the elements clearly dominates. So even if there's some overlapping of description, maybe in narration, based on you reading the first paragraph, which is your introduction, you are able to identify what type of writing it is. Okay? Now, so let's start looking at some of our writing. What is a narrative? Students, what is a narrative? What does a narrative piece do? What does a narrative piece do?
Ebony says it tells a story. Aaliyah, Stephanie, Lauren, Carell, very good.
All right, guys.
Good job, guys. Yes, so you're telling a story. What else it does? So let's look at this. Narration is a type of composition in which the writer relates an incident, right? An episode, a series of episodes, a person's life, a story of the past, and it's usually in chronological order. First, this happened, then second, third, fourth, lastly. Now, what word did we learn the other day that can be used for any of these, for incidents, episodes, a story? It starts with A. What word did we go over the other day that we're able to identify that tells a story as well? It starts with A.
Johnny. Sorry, Mrs. Dennis.
No problem.
Welcome, Johnny. I don't know where you've been, but welcome. Okay. And I love Johnny's answer. Okay. He says a narrative tells a story in the third person perspective, and I love that because a lot of times students don't know that there's a distinction. There are types of narratives.
Well, that is true. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Joaquin. You can continue.
All right, good. All right. Not adequate, Yuri.
No, it's not adequate. Remember, we said that this word basically tells, it's saying the exact same thing all of these phrases are saying or words are saying. It tells a story, so you can use a what. Remember, we saying when we start an introduction, okay? When we're starting our topic sentence, we can use a what, which tells a story. We can use a what. Starts with A. Oh man, come on, students. AN.
Come on, guys. You know this. Come on.
No one? Oh Lord. Okay. It's an anecdote.
Yes, students.
An
anecdote.
Anecdote. I will say it again. An anecdote. It basically tells a story. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Joaquin. I need you to put that there because some of them may not even know this word. So you're learning a new word today. Okay, anecdote. It tells a story. Okay? That's okay. I understand. Okay, now I know you guys know this. Oh, I know you know this one. What are the elements in a narrative piece? What are the different elements that we use in a narrative piece? Are things we have to use in narrative writing? What are the different elements in a narrative piece or narrative writing? Man, what
Whoa,
is
hold on, man.
Character.
Hold
Ebony
on a
says
minute.
characters. Setting, plot, conflict resolution.
Yeah,
Ebony,
boy.
listen to me. Come to the front of the class, Ebony, right now. Right now. Good job, Ebony. Yes, you are correct. I mean, you gave me all.
I mean, Mrs. Dennis, soon we would be out of jobs, eh?
Do you understand?
What's going on?
I look like I don't even have to go over it since she had the answer right there. You are correct. Good job, Ebony. So Ebony said, so these are some of the basic elements of narrative writing. So, or that's in narrative writing. So we have
I like
characters. Go ahead, Miss Walking.
no, I like Laurent's answer as well. Character development. Very
Yes, Laurent, yes, you are correct. We do develop characters in narrative writing. So yes. Then we have setting, plot, conflict, and resolution. Now, we know anytime we have these elements, this is something that you have or you should know what these elements cater to or what these elements do. Now, when we talk about character, what is a character? You said something, Miss Sue?
No.
Okay. What is a character?
Okay, Larika says it's a person or animal in the story.
Okay. Anyone else? Or Larika is correct?
good job, man. That's man.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good today.
Yeah.
Is Larika correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Sue, because they're not, some of them aren't answering.
All right,
Okay, so let's look at characters. A character is a person, animal, or creature in a story. You are correct.
all right. Laurent says an object that goes through character development. That's true too, because you have the little engine that could.
That's
You
true.
even
That is
inanimate
true.
even inanimate objects can be characters. Trees,
That is true.
water,
Yes.
the sun. Yeah.
That's right. You are correct, Laurent. Good job. Good job, Laurent. You're really brainstorming there. So
Especially
yes, so all of you, go ahead, Mr.
No, I was gonna say, especially animals. We see a lot of animals leading in these
Yes,
stories.
definitely. Yes, you do. You definitely do. So a character is a person, animal, or creature, or we can say object in a story. Okay, we use thing as well. Writers use character to perform actions and speak dialogue, moving the story along a plot line. Now, we know, let me see if I can remember a movie where a lot of animals talk. Wasn't there a recent one?
I don't.
Um,
I can't think of.
Even,
Recent, but you have Dr. Doolittle.
yeah,
Ah,
we know
yeah.
Dr. Dolittle is one.
Yeah.
We even have our cartoons.
Oh, the
Lion
King.
King.
Lion King. Yeah.
Yes, good job.
Yeah.
That's Paris, eh? No, wait.
This page.
Okay, Paige. Good job,
Good
Paige.
job.
Yes, Lion King, where we have a lot of our animals actually talking. Okay, they're having a dialogue between them and other characters. Yes,
Ebony,
they
Ebony
actually sing.
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 Is that
Oh
what?
Yeah.
yes, sing
That's what
is
the.
one too.
That's what the
Yes.
troll. That's what the trolls or something.
No,
No,
sing is
that's
the
the name
one
of
where
I
this
some
mouse or
competition.
something. Huh?
I thought it was some type of competition, I think.
Yes, a
Like
singing
a
competition where he was trying to bring, it's almost like he was trying to bring this his dad old company back up. It's like the Apollo, it was around
Oh,
that type of theme. Yeah.
okay.
It was pretty good. Zootopia, yes. Good job. Yes, you are correct. Nemo. Oh man, you guys, You on the
You can
ball.
tell.
We're really racking our brain.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
so all of these movies or movies that actually have animation, all of them have animals mainly that's talking, okay, having a dialogue with another animal or even a person. All right, so all of those are characters, right? Superman.
Dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Look at Ursula, man.
I know.
Wow.
Yes, Despicable Me as well. Despicable Me. All right. Now, let's look at setting. What is setting, students? What is setting? If I ask you, what was the setting of in Lion King? What would you tell me?
The Lion King.
Okay, Baroniquist is just giving us the definition, telling us that
Okay.
setting is the time and geographic location within a narrative.
All right.
All
Laurent says
right.
Africa. Paris says Africa. Yes.
Yes, you
Africa.
are correct.
Absolutely.
Africa, where though?
Yeah, that would be the general setting. What about the specific setting?
All right. This he says the is it the safari? No, it's not the safari. What do you call that? It's not the safari, man. I forgot the term for it. The
Madagascar.
not the Serengeti, eh?
I'm not sure.
It's yes,
I'm
the
not sure.
Serengeti. At least it looked like it had the Serengeti type thing where that's where you'd find all those animals like lions and everything. The
Oh,
Serengeti.
okay, yeah. So let's go with the Serengeti. Yes. Okay, so you are correct. A setting is a time and geographic location within a narrative. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Walking.
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay. All right. Now, let me give you a movie or cartoon. Let me ask you, where was the setting? Where was the setting in I gotta give you something that you got. It would be very much clear. Where is the setting of SpongeBob? What is the setting of SpongeBob? And don't sing the song.
Anthony says Bikini Bottom.
Yes, it is Bikini Bottom, even though we never heard of it Under the Sea, but yes. And someone else said Under the Sea. Yes, Bikini Bottom. You are correct. So that is the specific setting. So we have the general setting, which is Under the Sea. Okay. And then the specific setting where they were every single time was Bikini Bottom, right?
Yeah.
1920s, oh Lord. All right. Now, we're getting a little deeper. Plot. What is the plot in a story or in a narrative? What is the plot? What is the plot?
Baronico says the sequence of events that make up a story.
Oi, Barney.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to me. You on the roll. You on the roll. Head of the class. Head of the class. Okay. So yes, Barney, you are correct. So in a narrative, a plot is the sequence of events that make up the story, right? Now, let's dig a little deeper. What are the different parts of a plot and how many? Okay, first of all, how many different parts of a plot do we have? How many different parts of a plot do we have? Someone said 3. Mr. Joaquin, Ms. Toot, do you think that number looks right?
Mm-mm. More than that.
That's questionable. Anyone else?
Yeah.
How many different parts of a plot do we have? Now, if you're able to count the different parts, that means you're able to identify them.
Paris says 6.
Mr. That 6 look right?
Getting there, getting there.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
It's close, I think.
Yeah. The 4 is kind of close too. I think the 4, 8.
Whoa.
You going, I mean, over the bridge.
Oh, wow.
John Bonet says 5.
5.
Yes.
He says 5, I guess.
Now, yeah, I like the 5, yes. Now, can you name, go ahead, Miss Two.
No, I was trying to figure out what the IG means, Mr. Joaquin.
Yeah, I just didn't say it. Me too. Students, can you identify the different parts of the plot? What's the first part of a plot? What's the first part of the plot?
Okay, Lucent says exposition.
Oh, right.
Exposition.
All right, good. So what's the second part of a plot? So the first is exposition. You are correct. What's the second part of a plot? Laron, you may not remember this, but this is something that you need to remember. This is something that you should know off the top of your head.
Yes.
You're in grade 11. Okay,
Come on.
so this is to refresh your memory.
This is a big thing.
Yes.
Kenny said it first. The rise in action.
Good job. So you have your exposition and you have your rise in action. What is the third one? You guys are getting, I mean, you're on the roll.
Paris says the climax.
All right, good job. Climax. So what's the fourth one? What's the fourth part of a plot?
Okay, I see Kania says falling action.
Falling action.
Good job. Falling action. And what's the last one?
And Paris says the resolution.
Good job. Yes, you guys are correct. Now, let me explain why I want you guys, or why I went through that with you guys. A lot of you don't have a plot.
Oh, Mrs. Dennis.
Go ahead.
That's one thing I'd want to mention. The conflict comes between the exposition and rising action. Usually it's not always on the plot diagram, but the conflict is what sets off the rising action in the first place.
Yes, you are correct. You are correct, Mr. Joaquin.
Yes.
Without conflict, we don't have a good story.
You don't have a story.
You're lying. We see something.
I dare a student in here to give me think of a movie or a cartoon or a TV show they've watched with no conflict.
With no conflict.
No conflict.
Like, what are you watching?
You probably can't do it.
No.
I don't think I can. I can.
No, me either. So Mr. Joaquin is correct. Like he said, the conflict comes between the experts. Normally it is not. Mr. Joaquin and Ms. Tooth, they normally don't have it on the plot diagram, but some plot diagrams, they do have it.
Yeah.
More recent ones, they do. Well, yes. Laron, if you have to go look for it, that means I meant off the top of your head. All right. Yes. Okay,
so students, the reason why we're going through plot with you is because anytime you're writing a story, your plot is something that you should have down pat. First, how you're starting. Then second, okay, the rise in action. Then thirdly, you have your climax, your fall in action, and then your resolution. Now, if you do not have a good plot, you do not have a good story. Am I correct?
No, yeah, your story is, it's not going to be that great.
I mean, your story is like, oh, goodness. Okay.
No fireworks.
No fireworks. I mean, nothing is going off. I mean, it's not even exciting to even read or watch.
Like Mrs. Dennis and Mrs. Toot, like this is a problem I encounter, right? I don't know if you all encounter this problem when it comes to narrative essays in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I referenced this briefly a few classes back where I may have referenced it where like I had students would write essays, right? And the pacing is so terrible. Like they spend Well,
Yes.
they spend most of the essay setting up, like it's just exposition.
Introduction.
Exposition. We went to pick up this person and then this
Uh-huh.
person, and then I see my friend out on his fresh Jordans, and I'm like, okay. And the conflict is 3/4 of the way into the story, and then
Yes.
after that, like the climax is literally right after that, and then it's over.
And
I
abrupt
agree.
thing.
Right? It's so
That's
abrupt.
it.
It's like slamming into a wall.
Yes, I
Right?
agree. I agree. And
So
then when we're reading, we're like, okay, get to the point. What else?
You know,
What
this is
else?
you
so
have
important to plan. I think it comes back to plan.
Yes.
yes, you have
A plan.
your story has, and see guys, if you choose a narrative, let me be honest. I don't usually encourage my students to like for
No,
BGCSE to choose a narrative, because it's difficult.
it is.
It is difficult
It is.
to do it well. Let me say it like that. To do it well is not easy because all of these elements, you have to consider all these elements. Notice we just been talking about the plot diagram. We haven't gotten the characters yet.
That's right.
We haven't talked about suspense. We haven't talked about reflection. We haven't
Yes.
talked about dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
description, nothing. Right?
That's
So
right.
this takes, don't be fooled in thinking, oh, I could write the best stories. No, telling a story and writing a good
it is two
narrative,
different things.
two different
That's
things.
right. I totally agree with you, Mr. Joaquin, because exactly like you said, I don't encourage my students to choose a narrative topic to write on. I
Right.
don't.
I only say that. And now grade 10, that's
It's
grade
grade
11,
11.
sorry. That's not to say that you can't do it.
No, it's
I
not to
would
discourage you.
I would never discourage you, right? My point is, if you do something, do it well.
Yes.
Don't just do something because it seems easy, because that's what you're going to produce. Something that is, because it seems easy, it's not going to be quality
I agree.
because you're not putting the effort into it that you should. All right, just a little tidbit right there for you guys.
No, but I totally agree. Go ahead, Miss Two.
No, I was just agreeing with what Mr. Joaquin was saying. Because I mark composition, so trust me, I come into I see a lot of those types of essays, like Mr. Joaquin said, where students, the introduction is almost an entire page,
That's right.
and then the meat of the essay, the climax and the fallen action, like it is just,
There's no meat.
yeah. So
And then
A lot
the
of
thing
fun.
is, by the time they get to the end, or they can't even reach the end because time is up, because they
yes,
wasted so much time in
yes.
writing the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Miss Tudor, Mr. Joaquin, they're both right. And anytime, like Mr. Joaquin said, telling a story, orally telling a story, and writing a narrative story, they're two totally different things. Let me give an example. You guys, you think that when it's time to write a story, you say, girl, so this is what you write on paper. This is an example. Girl, when he walk in my yard, I tell him, oh, you better get on my yard. I know what you do in here. And then I run outside, and then the car come down the road.
And then that's that's right there, students. So like transitional words is also very important. Knowing how to
Yes.
transition from one idea to the next is important when writing the narrative. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. And also, when you think about it, you're telling a story, okay, that sounds cool, but when you're writing a narrative essay, it should be structured in a way where you're telling the story, but you actually have your dialogue. And when you're actually starting a dialogue, what do you put before you ask someone actually speak in the narrative essay or narrative piece? When someone is going to speak, what do you do? If you want to say, my boy, say, boy, come from around here. What are you supposed to put around those, that sentence or around those words? to indicate that someone is actually speaking. What are you supposed to put?
Dominic has his hand up. Go ahead, Dominic.
You can type.
Dominic and who's this? And Edison and Johnny.
You can type in the chat.
Quotation marks. I think that's Laurent. Yeah, he says quotation.
Yes, quotation marks, and this is to indicate that a dialogue or someone is actually speaking in the story. Okay? This is something that a lot of you you know what you're supposed to use, but when it's time to write a narrative essay, you don't use it. And this is what Mr. Joaquin is talking about. When you do not use the elements in a narrative essay, you lose major points.
Right.
Because you're not using it, one. And then two, if you're using it, you're not using it correctly.
Exactly. And Mrs. Dennis, I would also add that narrative essays are particularly difficult because even when you use all the elements, you have to use them sparingly. You have to balance it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You can't have a ton of description to the point where you're not telling the story anymore.
That's right.
You can't have a ton of dialogue to the point where there's no like exposition at all.
That's it. That's it.
So
That
this is why we say, narrative writing is difficult, but you can master it, but you have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to read. You have to read what others write. You have to pick up a book. Read short stories. There are all sorts of books and the short stories available online.
That's true.
By the greats, Mark Twain, Ernest Hemingway, James Joyce. You can find these people right online and read. Even if you can't read the entire book, you can read excerpts from the book, short stories that they wrote.
Yes.
Because I'll be honest, a lot of us are visual. Like visual learners, we need to see what good writing is. Me telling you what good writing is isn't enough. Sometimes I have to show you.
That's
like, see,
right.
Look what he did on this page. He used some dialogue, but not too much. You have to expose yourself. Grade 11 exposure is so important. Like, we can't emphasize that enough.
That's right. That's
but
right.
But Dennis and Mr. Joaquin, I think when we have chance or time in the next lesson, we should actually show them an example of a very good narrative.
Yes.
JC,
I think we should.
GCSE, and then you'll see an A, and then we'll show you a narrative that's not so good, and then you'll see why that A got that A, because that student had all of these elements, and there was a balance, like Mr. Joaquin was talking about.
And I think let me tell you what I would like to use. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Waiting for Turtles.
No.
That is that's an awesome. It's short, but it's so well written. It's so well written. I'm like, every time I see essays like that from high school students, it blows my mind. It was so good, right? And grade 11, we're not saying that you can't write at that level. We're not saying that you have to write at that level, but seeing that at least gives you something to aim for.
That's right. That's true. That is true. Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Joaquin. Your insight is awesome. The students, please, I know you're thinking, oh, they're just rambling, they're just talking. No, everything that we're saying, we're trying to help you to get better, okay?
Right. Absolutely.
I'm hoping it doesn't go on deaf ears. So we have here, remember, conflict. Mr. Joaquin was talking about what is conflict? What is conflict, students?
Okay, so John Benet says it's the problems that characters need to solve. Lorica says the problem and challenges characters need to solve.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yes, you are correct. So conflict is the problem or challenges or challenge characters need to solve. You are correct. Good job. And
Dennis,
anytime, hey.
Sorry, do you have, don't forget to click the little button so participants don't move through the presentation.
Oh, where? Oh, yeah. Okay, I did it. I don't know why I didn't do that. Okay, so yes, students, you are correct. So anytime in a story, there's always some sort of conflict. Like we said, if there's no conflict, there's no good story. I mean, I don't even think there's a story. Okay. Let me give you an example. In is it Avengers? Not Avengers. Is it Avengers? Yeah, with all of them together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So when it was the man with the stones, I can't remember his name.
Thanos.
Thanos, and there's a conflict between Thanos and all of the Avengers. I mean, every last one, because he wanted to get rid of everybody, right? At this point. That is what we call a conflict. They're bucking heads, they're having challenges. They do not agree, and he wants it all, and they're trying to stop him. So this is where the tug of war comes in, okay? Who is going to eliminate the other to get their way? All right, so that's an example of conflict in a movie or even a story. Then we have resolution. What is resolution, students? Miss Tudor, Miss Walking, remember the link for the
Yeah, I have
attendance?
it. I have
Okay.
it ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Students, what is resolution? What is the resolution in a story? So
Sorry.
resolving the conflict,
Resolving the
okay?
conflict. Resolving the problem.
All
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
So let's look at it. So resolution is the part of the story's plot where the main problem or conflict is worked out. Yes, you are correct. Okay, so this is when everything comes together. Okay, so after you have your climax, your fall in action, after you're falling, so your fall in action is coming down, everything is starting to work together. Everything is starting to be resolved or work out. Okay, now sometimes a story doesn't have to end with a resolution, Miss Tuda and Mr. Joaquin, right?
Nope,
A
not at
lot
all.
of stories don't end with a resolution.
They
Yeah.
don't.
Sometimes
They
relief
don't.
that's hanging, eh?
That's
Or
right. They leave you
yeah,
hanging like, what?
or sometimes even if they resolve, it's still like it's not satisfactory to the audience.
No, you're looking like, hold on, but then, so what happened to the mummy? Hold on,
Right.
I still don't understand. So you're questioning yourself, and majority of the time when they call it a cliffhanger, they leave you hanging.
Yep.
Majority of times when it's like that, that means that there's another part. There's part two. Something
Mhm.
else is going to happen. And not even so. Sometimes there's even nothing else coming after.
Yeah,
After that.
sometimes that's it. It just ends.
Yeah,
Just
it
ends
just
that
ends
way.
that way.
And me, with movies, I've been waiting on part two for some movies for about 5, 10 years now. I'm like,
You
where's
mean
part two?
like Avatar?
Oh,
Avatar.
Avatar. I've been waiting on part two for about a decade now.
I've
Part
never
two isn't coming
watched
out, I think,
Avatar.
until 2022 or something.
I've
Wow,
never
wow.
watched that. So I wouldn't even know how Avatar, I would never even know. I need to though. Okay, so good. Now let's look at a sample and then